So, a very good evening and welcome along. Marty's sitting there already. Uh, where's all the bottles tonight, Marty? Where are they
See,
all?
now you were up yesterday. Very nice of you. You bought me my lunch and all. Then I took you around the forest, nearly killed you walking up that hill. So you said to me yesterday, I don't know what you're going to say. You can't just slag off all these whiskey bottles, the distilleries and distributors and all that there. Well, I'm not going to. Well, I might a bit later on, but tonight's topic is bad whiskey. Okay. Now, what do I mean by bad whiskey?
I have no idea. I mean, one that just isn't quite right. It doesn't make the grade. It doesn't make the cut. Or what do you mean by bad whiskey?
Well, what I mean is it's whiskey that has off notes in it. Now, there's other bad whiskey. Basically, whiskey that you don't like is one thing, but there's also whiskey that is just bad. Okay, for various reasons, and I'll tell you. I'll hopefully fill in a bit more about that. Now, see, the thing is, you have to remember, whiskey's a foodstuff. Whiskey is the same as any other consumable product, and it uses natural ingredients.
But it's alcohol, Marty.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you have, I'll take for example the very first thing you use, barley or a cereal, whatever cereal you're going to use. Okay, when you do that, you can have disease on the barley. Now, that'll mostly come from having too high a moisture content or not being stored properly, not being dried out well enough. You know, if barley gets wet, it gets mold on it. So then it can't be used because it's fouled. And you'll have all of those sort of foul notes will transport all the way through the distillation process. It may even, one thing it may do is it'll destroy the sugars. The mold will eat the sugars in the barley and make it so that it can't actually be turned into a spirit. Now, that's a key thing. When grain appears to a distillery, it'll have to have inspection. It'll have to be checked. You know, it has to have visual inspections. It'll have a magnet running over it in case there's things going into it that that transfer over into may cause damage to the machines and the equipment, or it may go through all the way through to the actual taste and affect the flavour compounds that you're wanting at the end. So all of this is very important at the start. So all of the ingredients have to be checked. So when you see water, Speyside in Scotland, and you've all these distilleries at Speyside in Scotland, they have to be very careful of what way the water's treated. For example, if you take surface water, so out of a lake or a river or something, you're going to have a very high microbial amount in that. You're going to have lots of microbes that you have to get rid of, because if they go into the fermentation, they'll spoil the taste of it. Now, you're trying to make a repeatable spirit all the time, and you'll have various different amounts that you use in the manufacturing in the product. So you'll have different amounts. If you just use wild water, if you like, you have a real problem there. So it has to be treated. Now, you can use groundwater, which will be filtered down through the soil, and it'll have a lower amount of bacteria and stuff in it. So it's probably much clearer and better, but people can't see it. And there's probably, in some places, there's probably a limited amount of it. So you could, if you build a multi-million-pound distillery and are using an aquifer in below, unless you're certain how much water is there, it takes a long time to replace water out of an aquifer. So you have all that problem.
So how does somebody like Johnny Walker that has, like 2-3 times as much production as everyone else. How do they obtain all the water then?
A lot of them use the municipal supply.
Right.
Yes.
So that's I mean that's guaranteed quality then, basically, isn't it?
It is. It is. Justin, you're very echoey tonight, my friend.
There's not a lot of echo tonight at all.
No, I'm getting it. I don't know if everybody else is.
Don't think so tonight. Nobody's complaining. Let us know what the picture quality is tonight. No, definitely no, not that I can hear it.
You're getting it,
But there you go.
I can live with it as long as everybody watching it's fine. One thing I will just say, guys, we've started the new YouTube channel. If you want to see any of these, or you want to see the whiskey reviews and stuff, we'll put the link on at the very end of it. Go over and subscribe. And the person who reaches the 100th subscriber, I'll give them a miniature of something a bit special. Okay, I'll send them. So I need 100. So we got lots of people watching this. We just need more people to sign up to the YouTube channel. Okay.
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, because it's easier to find it there, Marty. But Irish Whiskey Review, to get that title, we need 100 subscribers, basically. So we need you to subscribe. It's at 75 now. So there's 26 of you watching at this very second. So go, if you all went there now and did it, one of you's watching would be the 100th person. Now, I know some people are already subscribed. Well, you could do the unsubscribe and resubscribe thing if you want to be 100, but then you never know, you might miss out. There's 27 people watching tonight, so somebody's going to be the 101th Dalmatian tonight. So Marty, listen, we've been contacted by friends of ours. This guy, Three Blokes, a Ball and a Bod, has been in touch with us, and well, he likes the show, and he wants you to like his show as well.
Yeah. And I think this is a way forward. We can have these sort of little community of people. If anybody watching this likes rugby, and he's based in Ireland, so the rugby, he has his groups that he does. He does interviews of Ulster rugby, Munster, Leinster, etc. So he does this. So we'll put that link up at the end as well. Or do you have a graphic? Do you?
I have a graphic. I'll throw it up now, Marty, if you want to have a look at this Three Blokes and a Bot, and then we'll give everybody a mention that's watching tonight, because loads of people are in tonight. So I will share his screen so that you can see what Three Blokes and a Ball and a Bod looks like. So it's coming up on screen now. Here it comes. There it is. And that's what it actually looks like. So Three Blokes, a Ball and a Bod. Check it out there, as simple as that. So let me see. Some of the people watching tonight, Marty, we better run through this. We're doing basically, we're basically doing something I thought we'd never do, a show about bad whiskey. It's a very, very naughty drink. People are laughing at subscribing and unsubscribing here. There's James from last week saying, I will be unsubscribing and resubscribe at 98. I hope he gets it. We're very hard to find. You'll need to go on YouTube and Google my name or Marty's name or Irish Whiskey Review. You will eventually find it with a sort of similar logo top right here, Irish Whiskey Review on the screen, and you will eventually find it. Let me see. Conor Rand saying sound and picture good tonight. Sorry. There you go.
That echoey with me, so I don't know. That's just me.
There you go. Mark Kerr saying there's a little echo. Yeah, but that echo is just because you're in the corner of a room. People think that's a set behind you. It's a green screen, but it's actually real. It's actually real. Trevor Watson saying hi, good evening from Fermanagh. Must live down there permanently. There's Julie saying, evening, Marty and Justin. Yes, Julie, thank you for your good wishes. Patrick saying good evening. And Michael Matthews is saying that this has to be said. This has to be seen to be believed. Do you mean proper bad? Yeah, like nasty.
No, possibly. I know what that man's getting at, and it may make an appearance. It may make a reference to this later on. Don't panic, okay? Don't panic. So we'll get back to what I was talking about basically contamination in whiskey. and this is from a distiller's point of view, everywhere along the sort of process, there's a risk of contamination. And as I say, the problem with whiskey is it ages and it has all of this. People think, oh, well, it's alcohol, so it's like hand sanitizer, it kills off all known germs, including COVID-19. NHS. But anyway, but the thing is, what happens is it may kill the microbes in the cask, and we'll get you that in a wee minute. But it has created these chemicals that, when it's being distilled, go into the cask and can have an effect over a very, very long period of time. Now, when it goes in for fermentation, it has to be done at a certain temperature. If it's too hot, you basically kill off the yeast. If it's done for too long, a lot of the bacteria that's there can actually reproduce and make really bad, really. See, this is the problem. It's a very delicate balancing act. You have, when it's fermenting, certain bacteria that's always going to be there. It just, you can't get rid of them unless you boil it, and then that'll kill the yeasts and all that kind of stuff. And certain of these bacteria give off or create flavor compounds that in small doses you probably want, but in high doses you really don't. So I'll give you an example. There's a chemical that can be produced called diacetyl, right? Now, in high quantities, it's carcinogenic. It's actually used as a flavouring in very low quantities, and it gives a sort of buttery, yogurt, popcorny flavour. The problem
sounds lovely, Marty.
Sounds okay, but if it's in your whiskey, if it goes to a high enough level, it then becomes carcinogenic, and that's not good, Justin. That's not good.
No, I think the Food and Drug Agency and the Public Health Agency would have something to say about that.
They would, but it has a flavour that's used as a flavouring. It's just in very low quantities, but it can be created in the fermentation. Another one is lactic acid bacteria. Okay, in small quantities, it gives off sort of fruity apple notes, which you might want. This, I'm not telling you what's in this glass, but this is very estery. It's got very sort of light apple green notes in it. Okay, but if you put in too much, it then becomes cloudy. It becomes you get a whole range of very sort of putrid smells and tastes, which you really don't want. So you have this sort of balancing act. You want the alcohol. You probably want your congeners. You do want your congeners. You want your flavour compounds, but you don't want them out of balance. So if they do go out of balance, you'll end up with a bad whiskey. And there's really not a big lot you can do about that. Once it's sort of gone, well, it's kind of spoiled, and it's like stale loaf or mold in a loaf. You have to just throw it out. So it's a very, very precise sort of growing techniques have to be used, and everything has to be spotless because it's a food environment. Everything has to be cleaned down. So the wort, the beer that's made during the fermentation, after the fermentation, some people keep the husks and stuff in that. They keep lots of that. Well, every time you've got a surface, and you'll know this yourself, if you have a surface, you have heat, food, and water, it's a perfect place to grow bacteria. So all of this has to be cleaned out. It has to be spotlessly clean. It has to be. You can use chemicals to do it, but you have to use chemicals that are not going to spoil it the other way. So you see what I mean about this really, really precise, almost like a bakery, to end up with your final product. So anywhere along that stage, you could end up with foul notes that are not going to be what anybody really wants to drink in high enough quantities. Okay? So that's making it.
It sounds like an awful lot can go wrong when you're making whiskey, and it's not really anybody's fault, Marty. That's what it sounds like to me. People are getting nervous tonight. They're very nervous. Okay, here's why they're getting nervous. JP Rorden is saying, evening lads, will there be brands mentioned tonight? We're going to mention one brand. Can I hit the button? Let me hit the button.
We're going to mention a few tonight, Justin.
Can we mention one? I'm going to mention one. Now, they're from Holland and they might come after us. All right.
But like us, we'll.
There's Mark Kerr. Had a bottle of Dutch whiskey that was foul, frisk, hinder, aged in red wine barrels. I hope I've said that right, Dutch people.
I have a friend who also I was telling him I was going to do Bad Whisky tonight, and he says, "Oh, well, that's just your opinion." And I says, "Everything's just my opinion unless it's a demonstrable fact." He says, "You can't say that about that." And I says, "I can say whatever I like." If it's and he pointed to a red wine aged whiskey and said, "Oh, but that there's bloody awful."
Yeah, I know. It's a strange one. So remember tonight, if you would like to get involved, remember go to Irish Whiskey Review on Facebook or Irish Whiskey Review if you can find it on YouTube, because we're streaming live on YouTube as well now, and you can comment, like, and share there. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and you won't never miss another show again, even if we do it at a different time. But we're always going to do it for the foreseeable future until one of us wins the lottery Saturday nights at 10 p.m. So that's the best way to do it. So get involved, comment, like, and share. We can put your comments on screen, because I'm sure a lot of you will have a lot to say about Bad Whisky, that very naughty drink.
Yeah. So we've now made our whiskey. We've distilled it and we've made sure that there's no bacteria growing on anything, and it's made its way through and it's running out the spirit safe. It's running clear, and it goes into a cask. Okay. Now, casks are a natural product. Okay. So the same as everything else, there's a risk. Now, it's probably the most famous, probably be the best-selling whiskey author in the world, Jim Murray. He brings out the Whiskey Bible every year. He has started over the last period of time giving off about sherry casks. It used to be, and probably still goes on in certain places, that sherry casks, once you've dispensed of the sherry, they're wet. Okay. Now they dry out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they age them in it is because the sherry has dried into the cask, into the staves. The whiskey goes in and imparts those flavours. But you've got lots of sugar there. You've got lots of sweet substances that many little microbes like to munch on. So in order to kill the microbes, what they used to do was, and as I say, they probably still do in plenty of the sherry warehouses and stuff, the sherry bodegas and whatnot, is use sulphur candles. Do you know the ones they use in the greenhouses and garden centres?
I do indeed. These things.
Yes. That kills it. It's exactly the same as what happens in the greenhouses. Now, again, it gets quite complicated at this point. Some people say, I can taste the sulphur, I can taste it coming through, it's horrid, it's got that rancidy taste, and so on. Other people, on the other hand...
Is this like when I say I can taste the washing up liquid from the dishwasher in the plastic plates? Is this like
It's exactly the same. Now, some of these chemicals, well, they can be tasted all the way down to like parts per billion. Some people, it's a bit like coriander. Some people just cannot eat coriander because they think it tastes like soap. Other people, I love coriander. I think it's lovely and fresh, and it's really nice in a homemade curry, which I've made you before. But, some people just can't have it, and they detect it at very small levels. So this was used to basically kill bacteria in sherry casks. But this, for some people, just absolutely ruins a whiskey for people. Other people, they don't mind it. Other people actually quite like the taste of it. But on my tasting sheet on the ulsterwhiskey.com web page, there's a section for sulphur basically. And I had a friend say to me one time when he's looking at the sheet, he says, sulphur doesn't sound very nice. And I said, yeah, no, there's lots of stuff that people don't like the taste of. And he was quite surprised by that. He says, where does that come from? There's a few, there's other sort of aspects to all of that as well. Sulfury compounds can come in earlier on and, through the grain and all that kind of stuff. So you have this, again, something that people would just say, that's bad, it's rancid, doesn't taste well. Other people may go, it tastes quite nice, it's good. So some people have actually said that sherry cask whiskies now, because there's an awful lot less sulphur used in casks, aren't as good as they used to be.
Right? Okay. So there's people that don't know that they like the taste, and there's others that do know they hate the taste, but there's people actually saying because there's less sulphur used, it's not as good.
There's people that think it tastes better, that little sulphurino, and that because it gives it another bit of complexity. So
right, that's a bit like the people that saying there's no cocaine in Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it's like doing the Pepsi test. There used to be people that asked you, "Can you taste the difference between Pepsi and Coke?" Well, everybody can, and the reason is Pepsi know how to make Coke exactly the same as Coke do. It's just they don't want something to taste the same. Why would they make a product that's exactly the same as something else? It just doesn't make any sense. But one of the things is, I've talked about this before, you have a distiller and a blender usually. Now it's up to the blender to take these notes, to figure out, right, he noses out of a cask and goes, something not right with that. That's not what we need. There's notes there that aren't. Now, this doesn't happen that often, but it will, because each stave of each cask is a little bit different. So there's always going to be occasionally that just doesn't work, or that's not right, or that's something not right with that. And if they pick up on these, that's probably it. Probably gone.
Okay, Maury. Let's see. What brands are we going to mention tonight? Because I'm getting worried here. Because it's a bit like some people like Coke, some people like Pepsi, some people like neither, some people only like Dr. Peppers. You can't please all the people all the time.
You can't. And we'll just leave the brands for a bit yet, because of some more stuff we say. And, well, if I bring up some of them, well, I don't want to dig in. The way, if you complain about it, handy with the fists. Hello, if you can't knock a drunk pensioner off a still with a Judas punch, it doesn't say a huge amount about you.
Well, this is Michael Matthews agreeing with me. There's nothing as core as fuck. You can't please all of the people all of the time. You're absolutely correct. Ain't that the truth, says Mark. Trevor Watson is asking, can whiskey be stored in anything but oak cask?
Well, in Scotland, it has to be oak casks for obviously the minimum 3 years. In Ireland, it's slightly different. They can be stored in wooden casks. Now, it has to be, by law, they have to be aged in wood. So no matter whether it's oak or French chestnut, I have a couple of balls in there that have been aged in French chestnut, it's always going to be wood. There's a new thing some university over in America has come up with, where they can artificially age whiskey. They claim, but that technically wouldn't be whiskey. By law, you can call that whiskey. So if you're adding in chemicals or additives or whatever way they're doing it, and I remember reading it briefly and thinking, I'm not interested. It's probably going to be quite good, but I like the craft of the whole thing, so I'll stick with that. So it has to be aged in wood. It has to be aged in primarily in oak. It's always going to be aged in oak, because the bourbon barrels are so much cheaper. If you start buying and aging everything just in French oak or in French chestnut, sorry, you're going to start spending an awful lot of money. So primarily it's going to be oak casks. I'll mention the first brand here, okay? I'll mention the first one.
Okay.
You have a picture of a bottle of Old Cumber.
Dare I show this?
Yep, show it. I want to accommodate myself with a little drinky.
Okay, so we're getting people agreeing with you here tonight already. There is Old Cumber,
Right.
right? Old Cumber is cumbersome, is it?
Sorry.
It's cumbersome.
Well, what happened is Old Cumber Distillery shut down in the 1950s. Now, this is not bad whiskey. I'm just having this because it's a good one that I have at hand. This is Tullamore Dew red wine finish. It's really nice. Anyway,
And it is good, even though it's finished in red wine barrels. Yes, unlike Mark's one, which was finished in red wine barrels. The Dutch one, the Friskinder, and he didn't like. This is Tullamore Dew that you do like. Now, I like those wee swigging things. Those wee swigging things are very, very stylistic, and there's heritage in them too, Marty.
oh yes. Well, put it like this: to get this whiskey, I had to go into a wee quiet room with a very lovely, charming young lady, which is always a nice thing to do, you know. Anyway,
listen, you want to see the comments tonight. Now, old Cumber, right, is getting called Chic Dip.
yes, Cumber whiskey was very good, right, back in the day, but it was a light pot still whiskey, which triple distilled, and it was quite light and took on flavors quite well. The problem was with this, they put it into a cask and it sort of went AWOL. The distillery closed. And 30 years later, they found this cask. Okay? And they bottled it. The problem was it's totally and utterly over oaked. Lots of people have this idea that a 30-year-old whiskey is better than a 10-year-old whiskey, or a 15-year-old, or a 20-year-old, or a 25-year-old. This is not true. It depends on the style of whiskey. It depends on where it's aged. It depends on what cask it's been aged in, etc., etc., etc. You very rarely, for various reasons, find Irish whiskies that are of any age because there's just not that many of them. But when they're triple distilled, they're very light. It doesn't take a huge amount for them to take too much out of the oak and become slightly tainted. This stuff, it has what you call a very astringent taste. Now, you know that astringency, it's quite bitter. Whenever you were a kid, you used to chew on a stick and you get that sort of bitter.
Or a P9 battery.
You may have chewed on batteries. I never.
Do not eat batteries, children. Do not eat batteries at all. All right.
Or detergent pods. The fact that you had to tell adults a few years ago not to eat detergent pods says a lot about today's society, I think. Anyway. The problem with this was it sat for far too long in a cask. People bought it because it was the last trace of this old distillery, and they wanted it. It's horrible. It's just putrid. It's not the fault of the whiskey. It's the fact that it's just totally and utterly over-oaked. Now, this sells on auction sites for £400, £500 a bottle. And people are just buying it just to have it and say they have it. It's horrendous. And it's not the whiskey's fault. It's just that's what happened, you know.
Unlike Waterford.
When you have a whiskey in a bottle, it does take a fair bit of battering to affect the taste of it in the bottle up to a point. Don't store it in direct sunlight for two reasons. If you're storing it for a long time, it's probably quite collectible. And if you store it in direct sunlight, you'll spoil the label. People don't want spoiled labels, they want them pristine.
Okay, that's that. So obviously, if your label's fading, it's just getting sunlight, the whiskey's getting, UVA and UVB rays through it.
Well, the thing is, it's only one type of UV that goes through. Okay, there's only one type of UV that goes through. It takes a long time for that to really affect whiskey. But if you're collecting it and have it on display, it's probably not ideal to have it in direct sunlight because it'll start to affect the chemicals inside the bottle. It probably take quite a long time, but it does. So don't store them in direct sunlight. Also, when you have them, you get what's called the old bottle effect sometimes. And what can happen is, this is not particularly well understood, and we'll cover this better when we do the final one of the elements, do it on air. Oxygen has an effect on basically any organic substance. Oxygen's fairly corrosive. So if you have a tiny little leak in your cork, lots and lots and lots of your alcohol can fly out, and lots of oxygen will come in to replace it. And at some point, that'll spoil the whiskey. Okay? Now, there's lots of controversy about this. Casks are porous, they're sitting there for a long time, sitting with oxygen in them, etc., etc. But I will tell you to do one experiment, and we'll talk a lot more about this when we do the oxygen one. Pour out a glass of whiskey, set it down for 3 hours. Okay? Then pour another of the same and compare the two of them. And you'll get a distinct, markedly different taste. Sometimes it may improve it. Most of the time it won't. If it's sitting for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, that's probably okay. Opens it up a little bit. If it's sitting too long, it does have an effect. And why, I don't know. Similarly, if you have a bottle and you've got about a quarter of a bottle left in the bottom of a 10 glass bottle, it's probably time just to kill the bottle. Have a friend over and kill the bottle and get rid of it, because it does taste markedly different.
Well, you also said you could make your memory bottle as well if you had a bit left.
That's exactly what you could do. Your infinity bottle. You can have an infinity bottle if it's a bottle that you really like, you have really good memories of. I have a bottle of Redbreast 21 sitting there that I have a fantastic memory of having shared it with a really special person. I'll never let that disappear. I already have the infinity bottle, and I'll keep it for forever.
Here, listen, I better do some of these questions tonight because they're really, really good. I don't know whether you can read them or not tonight, but it says there, so in Northern Ireland, whiskey will never go off because we don't get enough sunlight. Trevor, that's so true. It will. Well, I don't think it'll ever go off because it never sits long enough.
No, it might get rain damage.
I know. Yeah. That's true. It's been a pretty well. We had one sunny month before the summer, and that was it. Let me see. Another one that people are saying failed to impress was Pogues. Now, I think we've mentioned that another week. Did we mention that another week? The Pogues.
Yeah, we'll get to these in a little minute, because I don't want someone bursting through my front door and hitting me a chop.
We're halfway through the show tonight already. Remember, if you want to comment, like, and share, go to the main Facebook page or find us in Irish Whiskey Review. A few people have added us on YouTube. Subscribing on YouTube doesn't cost any money. People seem to think it costs money. It doesn't. You'll log into YouTube with your Google account and you just hit subscribe, and that's it. And then we can steal your bank details. No, we can't.
Remember, the 100th subscriber.
It's get something special.
For the 1,000th subscriber, it'll be something really good. For the 10,000th subscriber, I'll buy them something really nice. For the 1,000th subscriber, they can move in with me. How's that?
All right. All right. I think there's some people on the list already. Now let me see. Do you like Tullamore Dew? Has been a question that's been poised.
I like this Tullamore Dew. But I think, Mark, tell me this. Have you been looking under my table? My magic table. It's like, Tommy Cooper's coat, where he used to pull the out of. Right? I know you're all fishing to find out which brands I hate. Okay? Now,
this isn't about brands we hate. It's about whiskey that Marty thinks is bad.
Now, it's not that I hate the brand. Okay? It's not that I hate the brand. But remember what I said about a good whiskey. Good whiskey should first and foremost be drinkable. That's really the main thing. But it should have a nice story to it, or it should have nice characteristics to it. Maybe have something special, etc., etc. That kind of thing. A nice, something you can buy into and think, that's really good, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Now, I'm going to bring out one bottle, and then I'll tell you why I hate it. Actually, I'm going to have to nip over and get another bottle. Bear with me. I forgot to left one of these. My sincerest apologies. I have returned. Now, I like this. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a fan of the Pogues. I think Shane MacGowan is a genius. I think his songwriting is fabulous. The whiskey's not great, but it's not that bad. It's okay. It's cheap, and that's it's one redeeming feature. I got the special anniversary bottle. I have it here. It looks okay. It looks nice. Correct?
Lovely. Looks very, very, very well presented. Very well presented. He even got his teeth done. No, that's
Right.
a different Pogue.
See, this is quite nice. Let's check out his big brother. Now, this is a single malt. It's one of the very few times in my life that the blend far outstrips the single malt. And look at it. It looks like a prostitute's lipstick. Look, it's horrendous. You thought that was nice. It's horrible. It tastes foul. It's.
But maybe it was a marketeer's Christmas special edition, Marty. You know, because the bottle's red, it stands out.
It stands out all right. It stands out. It stands out like a dog's lipstick, sitting in the back of the sofa. You know what I mean? This is horrible. It says on the back of it, it gives a nutty aromas of chocolate-covered peanuts and toasted seeds. No, it doesn't, I'm afraid. And then it goes on to say it's highly versatile and either for sipping or mixing in cocktails. No, it's not. It's not very good at all, and I hate the look of it.
But you don't like cocktails, Marty.
No, I can drink a cocktail, Justin. I'm not adverse to cocktails on the whole, but why? Lots of people don't particularly like this, and I can totally get why. But this is only like £22 a bottle, and it's nice, and it's got this here's got the nice artwork on it, and the nice black bottle, and that. When you bring this, and it's more expensive, it looks horrible, and it tastes nowhere near as nice as that. It's just a bad whiskey. Okay, very, very poor, and it doesn't do for a band that I absolutely adore. Rum Flooding Me in the Lash is one of the best albums ever made. This does not do Shane MacGowan justice, even with his new fixed teeth. This does not.
I tell you. Listen, what we're going to do is we're going to say hello. We've only 20 minutes left. We're 2/3 way through the show tonight as well. I mean, I didn't think there was that much bad whiskey out there at all, Marty. So we've got to say good evening to some people. Georgie Burke saying hello, boys, from Prince Edward Island, Canada, once again. You were a question on the quiz on the chase during the week, isn't it? Is it Baffin Island is the 6th largest island in the world, or something like that? Was it? Am I right, Marty? Am I wrong?
What's that game, Justin? You sort of broke up a little bit there, my friend.
Canada, Baffin Island's the 6th largest island in the world.
I think that was. I don't know. Even it was not more than that. I don't know, like 4th largest.
Can't remember, but it was something. I haven't been to Canada. But my sister's been 3 times. My mate's been once time. My other mate lived there for a year. He thought you were all like the people in South Park.
Well,
so,
I have family living in Canada. Then I have family lives everywhere. Family living.
Yeah, I have family that lives everywhere too, unfortunately. So let me see. Some really good questions come in tonight. Michael Matthews. I'm thinking is Michael Matthews isn't a dentist. One of our avid viewers is a dentist, but it was designed and produced by Shane's ex-dentist. Sorry, you are comedians tonight. You are comedians. Listen, Hugh Shuggy Thompson. I think you might be a new viewer, Hugh Shuggy Thompson. So if you go to our YouTube page, find it, Irish Whiskey Review, be the 100th person, Marty might send you a miniature. Well, he will send you a miniature because somebody will get it, and we'll get a picture of you with the winner, just in case the Facebook and YouTube gods decide to take action. But everybody knows you do get your miniature unless the postman allegedly nicks it. Okay? Now,
Ian, Justin, it's like people are reading my mind, because do you not have a picture there?
Yes. Well, this is a scary thing. I actually do have a picture of this, and there it is there. Is it the Glenlivet from Glenfiddich? Is it? Yeah?
No, the Glenlivet. This is a slightly different one, sorry. The Glenlivet Founders Reserve is just bad. And the problem is it's available in all the supermarkets. It's really quite cheap. Glenlivet have wonderful, wonderful whiskies. They're age statement ones, they're ones that are a little bit older, and so on and so forth. Super. So I don't know why they bring out something that bad. It's really not pleasant at all, and yet they have all this fantastic whiskey stock, and it baffles me. They're kind of demeaning the brand a little bit, and I know it's cheap. You know what? It's not good, and it doesn't do the brand justice.
Sorry, Marty. Sorry, some people are catching on about the South Park joke, and Geordie Burke is saying my doctor is from Ireland, Ambrose Kennedy, and he's calling his doctor a crazy Irishman, and he thinks he thinks we're crazy because we've said he's like South Park. Sorry about that. Couldn't resist that. Julie Mason must be a South Park fan. She's laughing away there as well tonight. Oh boy. Dean Martin's asking Julie, what time is it in the US of A? It's actually 5 hours behind us, is it? Yeah, it's 5 hours behind us to begin with. And increasing. Yeah, I think it is.
I think it's 7.
7 hours, maybe this time of year. So there you go. Now, listen.
Oh. There's another picture there from our local distillery, and I hate having this.
Yeah, Marty. Now they aren't even Albanian, but they live close enough to come around your house.
Yes, they are. But I'll be ready for them. I'm ready, Justin.
Okay, there we go.
Now, I know lots of people who think this is okay. It's perfectly drinkable, and so on and so forth. I would beg to differ. I think it's not great at all. But the problem with this is, if you go to Bushmills, and we go to Bushmills quite a lot, Justin, with tours. We go down that way whenever we're doing tours. We head down into it. When this was launched, there was plenty of people very quick to tell you that Red Bush is 30% Bushmills single malt and 70% Jameson grain whiskey. So technically, it's not even really a Bushmills. Now, it was brought out to appeal to the younger audience. Because I'm not really 100% sure why. This is slightly more expensive than Blackbush. Blackbush is amazing. It's fun.
Yes, it is. But Red Bush works fine with a Coke. It does. It works fine with a Coke.
It does. But these days, there are lots of Irish distillers bringing out, or Irish producers is a way of putting it. It's a better way of putting it, sorry. Guys who are waiting on their distilleries coming are buying single malt from Bushmills. Everybody in the trade knows, that Bushmills has the best whiskey stock in Ireland, the most flavourful whiskey stock in Ireland. They have fabulous stuff in cask. But they're bringing out this, and I really don't know why. It, to me, doesn't really do the brand justice. There's people bringing out single casks and cask strength this and so on and so forth. You have all of these different products coming out, and I just don't see the point of this. I don't like it. I think it's not very good. There's no when you go to the distillery and they tell you it's not even really Bushmills as such. It's kind of, you see people going, why have you your label on it when 70% of it's from Jameson? We don't tell everybody that Jameson has Bushmills single malt in it, etc., etc. But it just, to me, kind of misses what the industry's trying to do. And Bushmills they're fabulous stuff, and they seem to be selling it on to some other people. And I want Bushmills to be really, really good. I want Bushmills to be flying, and I just don't think that's doing what.
Well, it is flying, isn't it? Brazil, Russia, India, and China are drinking this whiskey like it's going out of fashion, and they're having to expand all the time there, surely.
Well, they brought out the steamship range as well, and that didn't really take off that well. The Acacia Wood one I really like because it's something sort of totally different.
But I thought that was down to the availability of the barrels, the flavors, because they didn't have enough barrels of the proper barrels, so they had to go down the flavor route. Is that right? Is that true?
No, they have loads of good barrels down there, Justin. The 16-year-old a couple of years ago sold out. You couldn't even buy it at the distillery. It's fabulous stuff. The 21 is amazing, but it's a little bit staid and a little bit boring for me at the price point. Blackbush is amazing. The 10-year-old, maybe a little bit overpriced, but it's fabulous too. It's really good. And they have so much good stock there. And it's just not. I want to be bringing out single casks. I want to bring them out cask strengths and so on and so forth. The Distillery Reserve, 12-year-old. Again, superb. And now we'll move on to the bit that I think a few people have anticipated and are probably waiting on. Dun, 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 dun,
dun. Okay.
Yes. Mr. Conor McGregor's Proper 12 whiskey.
Now, Marty, can I hide myself so as he doesn't see my picture on screen in case he's watching this?
Yes, you absolve yourself. If he comes trying to give us a kicking, I'll take it. I'll man up. I'll be all right.
All right. I just dipped out there. I dipped out there. Now listen, we've got about 10 minutes left here tonight because it takes a while for some of these to filter through. So Michael Matthews is disagreeing with you. He's really saying he really liked the steamship rum cask. Okay.
What I said, there was 4 expressions of the rum or of the steamship. There was a couple of them quite good, but it didn't really hit the mark. It missed the mark. There was loads of people didn't particularly like it. The sherry cask, port cask, not bad. The deep char one didn't like it, so it kind of missed the mark. And they've got all of this marvelous stock, and it's just not coming out. And I really wish it would.
Now we've been asked a question about Kilbeggan by Geordie Burke in Canada. Kilbeggan single pot distillers. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have about 3 bottles of Kilbeggan here. The pot still and the rye just come out last year. Yeah, it's okay. Not blow your socks off stuff, but it's good. It's pretty much all. There's some of it made at Kilbeggan now, but lots of it still comes from Cooley. Yeah, it's okay. It wouldn't blow your socks off, but if you go down and go to the distillery, I would recommend that. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful.
It's a good tour. Thank you very much for that. Comments are coming thick and fast tonight. I knew they would. Make sure you go on, comment, like, and share on Facebook, and subscribe on Irish Whiskey Review channel on YouTube. Now, let me see. Some of these questions. There was another question come in tonight. Dean Martin, seen an advert tonight on TV for Jameson's with coffee cask. Have you tried it? I find Jameson's cask not worth the money. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad whiskey.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad whiskey. I haven't tried the coffee one. I've tried a few of the cask mates ones. The stout one I really like. And there's a beer one. What's the beer one? I tried it. Wasn't overly keen on that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big. If they bring out a tea cask one, that's where it's at.
I like iced tea. I like iced tea, I must admit. So here's another one.
Twinings.
I thought all peated whiskey was bad, but we changed Trevor Watson's mind last week with the dark silky.
Good
Yeah.
man. This is it. That's why I won't say that a peated whiskey is bad, because it's not. I mean, just because I don't like something doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. But I have reasons pretty much why I pretty much don't like certain ones. I think that's horrid. I think it's just horrid and doesn't taste very good. The Glenlivet one, Glenlivet, fantastic stock. They bring out something that's cheap. The Red Bush. I don't see why that was brought out other than for to sell to people in discos that are banging their heads about. I don't get it.
And also, Napoleon Cask is doing what Bushmills should be doing, in my honest opinion. Yeah,
exactly. And there's a few other people that have bought stock from Bushmills that are bringing out super stuff, really, really nice, tasty whiskies. And Bushmills have it, and I don't know why they're not bringing it out themselves. Bring out. I mean, the other day, Justin was telling you, another whiskey came on the market, sold out like that. Single cask stuff, boom, straight out the door, £80 a bottle sold. Bushmills could do this, but they don't seem to want. They just don't seem to be. They just don't seem to be getting that. And I'd love them to be doing it because they're my local distillery. They're the ones I really want to like and support and collect, but they're just not doing it.
Okay, where have we got to go now? We've got about under 10 minutes left tonight.
We'll do a slight tasting of Conor McGregor's, and I'll explain why I don't like it so much. Right? One. Well, there you go. It's really, really not good. It's got very little taste, and I know it's selling well. And the best thing to do, if people are drinking it and whatever, but this is being sold to kids who are sticking half a tin of Coke in a measure of it.
It's not been sold to kids. It's been sold to people over the age of drink 18 and 21 in places. But
stand correct. It's being sold to young people who are buying into the whole thing, and this is the problem. He wanted to label this Notorious after his nickname.
The Notorious B.I.G. No.
Notorious, because he's Conor the Notorious McGregor. And he wanted to name it, but the trademark had already been taken. So he named it Proper 12. Now, if you're putting an age, if you're putting a number, and okay, spells it out 12, it's not 1, 2. If I put that on a whiskey, you automatically think, if there's a number there, that it's an aged whiskey. I'll let you know now, this comes from Bushmills. The malt content certainly comes from Bushmills. This is 3 years old, and I would say, well, this didn't get a chance to blow out its third birthday candle before it was whipped out and fired into a bottle. Okay? It doesn't taste good. The Proper 12, the reason he came up with this was the 12 is the postal district which he lives in Dublin, Crumlin. Now, if you're in Champagne, and you're drinking champagne in France, or if you're in Bordeaux and sipping a lovely red wine, and
don't you be calling it a postcode, Marty? Because the BBC did the flag during the week, and that annoyed people. So it's not a postcode; it's an air code.
Air code. I do apologise.
It's an air code, not a postcode.
At these days, John, if you say anything wrong, I purge myself. It's got kind of everything that I think is wrong with stuff. It kind of bluffs the 12 is through in there as some people they'll think it's 12 years old and it's not. The idea that it comes from Crumlin and around Dublin is really it's really not good. Now, on the nose, it's there's a slight lemony thing. There's a bit of vanilla from the bourbon cask and stuff. We'll put a little drop of water in this to try and help it, okay? So we'll just put a little drop of water in it and see if that helps it any. Okay?
Marty, now you're taking the proverbial now, Marty. That's the proverbial you're taking.
I could do with a little more water, to be honest.
Marty, oh, here. Listen, I can hear a big Range Rover coming up the Vanel now. I tell you.
But like this, I'll be ready for him, Justin. I'll be ready.
Here, let the dog near him. Let the dog near him. Oh boy, what a night this has been tonight. Will you read some of the messages? I put them on screen. You missed it. Dean Martin's got the monkey with his hands over his eyes. There you go. Very good. Listen, thank you very much for watching tonight. And in the last 5 minutes, if you've got anything you'd like to add, do get in touch. Do pop those comments through. Like, comment, and share. Tell your friends. And remember to go on YouTube and basically hit subscribe. It's dead easy to do. It's dead easy to do. Marty, what else have we got to do tonight?
Well, I'm pretty Bad Whisky. There is bad whiskies. I'll give you an example. Wild Turkey over in the US ditched dozens of barrels a few years back because they said they were totally unusable. They done. I can't remember exactly what they did, but they put them into these barrels. They tried a different thing with them and just said they were unusable and scrapped them. Now they must have been really bad because you're talking thousands of pounds worth of stuff being thrown away. So
could they not give it to Kim Kardashian or something like that?
wait. I'm not 100% sure why you would say Kim Kardashian. Justin.
She could bring out a product line like that, and it wouldn't be up to the mark.
Well, all I know is they said that it was unusable and scrapped it. So you can have bad whiskey, and people will universally agree that it's bad because it's badly made. But it's yeah. This is not enough water for this. It's. If people enjoy it, that's entirely up to themselves. It's not a story I can buy into. It was rushed out when the bottles first came out. The labels were horrible. It's just for commercial purposes, if I'm totally honest. It just everything about it is sort of false or saccharine, or just not good at all.
Okay, last of the few mentions coming in tonight. Thank you. Another brilliant, interesting, enjoyable show tonight. Marty, you have such a knowledgeable and information. Till next week. Till next time. What are we doing next week? Do you know yet? No?
I think what I'll do is I'll do the final one of the element series. We've done fire, we've done water, we've done earth. So the next one we'll have to do is air, and that'll be the elements series, and that'll be that.
Okay, yeah, and we haven't repeated anything yet. I don't even know how many weeks we're up to yet. We must be heading on for 15 weeks.
I feel like if anybody has anything they want me to talk about or look up for them or whatever, let me know. If you want me to find out stuff, and we'll be doing a few more whiskey tastings. I have a few other distilleries and bonders and stuff that we're talking to, so we'll get a few more tastings. And we'll have another few live tastings coming up in the not too distant future. So,
I know. We're going to leave to Frank Heron to close the show. He says, Coke and whiskey. Why? I know I'm a Philistine. I like mixers. I like cocktails. Marty.
All I would say is, with this, you would really put cough syrup in it. It's really, really, really bad.
Okay. Thanks a lot. You've been watching Marty McCauley and Justin McCartney. We've been talking bad whiskey. Remember, these are only our personal opinions. It doesn't really mean the whiskey is bad. Some people like it, some people won't. And, well, you can do what I do. I spoil all the whiskeys by putting a Coke in it. So there you go. I don't put Pepsi in it because Pepsi doesn't work as a mixer, in my opinion. But there you go. Let me see. Paul O'Brien saying it's a good show. And... well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Say bye-bye, Marty.